today we are diving deep into round 2, Group 21.
Right, and the critical context here is that every single album in this group has already survived the initial qualifying pressure cooker of round 1.
So they've all proven their worth.
Exactly. They've all eliminated 2 rivals, and now they face an even higher bar. Only 2 will advance to the coveted round 3, meaning 2 albums that already tasted victory are, well, they're about to experience the pain of definitive elimination.
The stakes are incredibly high. I mean, when you reach round 2, you are playing for permanence in this quest.
Yeah.
The quality is just assumed to be there.
For sure. So we've got 4 contenders in this group, Group 21, and they represent wildly different eras and genres.
At least lay them on us.
First, the historical powerhouse, live at Knebworth, 1980 by the Beach Boys.
The classic.
Then you have the 90s studio polish of Jollification by the Lightning Seeds.
Okay, interesting contrast already.
Then, representing the experimental bedrock of rock, we have Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles.
Of course, the behemoth in the room.
And finally, the modern genre fusion outfit, the Papercut Chronicles by Gym Class Heroes.
Wow. That is an insane grouping. The scope, I mean, it ranges from 1967 studio genius to 2005 hip-hop fusion.
With a massive 1980 live document squeezed right in the middle.
And before we get into the analysis of how they ranked, we have to state the results, because they are genuinely shocking. It gives this entire exploration its dramatic title, Lightning Shoots Down the Beach Boys, while some heroes get lonely hearts.
It's a great title, and it captures the drama perfectly, because if you just looked at this group on paper, I mean, most critics would have instantly predicted the Beatles and the Beach Boys to move on.
Without a doubt. Historical weight, iconic songs, but usually carries the day.
But not in the album quest.
No. So, when Greensterox completed his meticulous grading for round 2, Group 21, the final rankings were, predictably in first place, the Beatles with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
No surprise there.
But the monumental shockers right behind them. In second place, securing the pass to round 3, was Jollification by the Lightning Seeds.
Which means?
A truly significant elimination. Third place went to live at Knebworth 1980 by the Beach Boys.
Wow.
And in fourth place, the Papercut Chronicles by Gym Class Heroes.
So the Beach Boys are out.
Okay, let's unpack this. This is the intellectual core of this entire quest, isn't it? The critical methodology that allows an album like Jollification, which, I should add, the source material describes as lackluster when the author first bought it.
Right, he wasn't even sold on it himself.
To definitively pip live at Knebworth 1980, an album that features some of the strongest, most iconic songs ever composed, performed by the only full lineup of an iconic American band.
Yeah, what metric is so powerful that it elevates mid-level pop polish over historical legacy and foundational songwriting?
That's the question. It forces us to examine what Greensterox prioritizes. Is the quest about emotional connection, historical significance, or is it a cold technical assessment of, sonic execution, sequencing, and cohesive performance?
And the results strongly suggest it's the latter. The quest seems to demand excellence in execution, not just excellence in composition.
Absolutely. We can't just accept this outcome. We have to interrogate the criteria. But before we get into the critiques, we have to respect the pedigree of this group.
That's a crucial point.
To even reach round 2 is a statement in itself.
It is. We can't just dismiss the lower-ranked albums as failures. They are high achievers who just, ran into 3 other high achievers. They have all survived the randomness of round 1.
So let's review each contender's round 1 journey. This really sets the foundation for their status. And we'll start with our eventual winner, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Okay, so Sgt. Pepper's qualifies from round 1, Group 96, and here's the first shocker of the entire quest. They didn't finish first.
They didn't?
No. They finished second in that group, meaning they were judged to be inferior to one of their rivals in that specific listening competition.
Right, so they survived a truly diverse group, finishing behind, get this, KT Tunstall's 2007 album, Drastic Fantastic.
Wow.
That claimed the top spot. Now, I have to pause here. The Beatles, the cultural bedrock, the experimental monolith graded behind a mid-2000s Scottish singer-songwriter.
That is a testament to the power of randomization and the deeply personal nature of this grading system.
It has to be.
It's probably less about KT Tunstall being a better album overall and more about Drastic Fantastic meeting the specific criteria of the author in that moment. Maybe tighter pacing, more immediate hooks, or just better production for its genre.
It forces St. Pepper's to prove itself purely on listening merit, completely divorced from its towering reputation.
Exactly. And the more significant detail is who they beat to secure that second place spot.
Yeah, they finished ahead of Tears for Fears' 2004 comeback album, Everybody Loves a Happy Ending.
A great album.
And maybe most surprisingly, Prince's 2007 release, Planet Earth.
So, say Peppers had to fight off albums from Prince and Tears for Fears artists who are themselves foundational pop figures just to escape round one?
It just confirms that legacy offers no protection at all. You have to perform in the critique.
Okay, so what about our surprise qualifier, the Lightning Seeds with Jollification? They survived round one, group 30.
They also finished second in their group.
Following a pattern here.
Yeah, they finished behind Peter Gabriel's 1986 magnum opus, which took the #1 spot.
Well, that's a challenging album to be measured against. It's pretty much flawless production-wise.
It is, but the interesting thing is their opposition. Jollification. This laid-back, slick 90s pop held its ground against some serious hard rock.
Oh, really?
It finished ahead of Rainbow's 1977 classic live recording On Stage and Tigers of Pantang's 1982 album, The Cage.
Wow, that's a perfect genre clash. Tigers of Pantang is firmly new wave of British heavy metal, NWO, BHM.
Raw energy, totally.
Raw energy, heavy riffs, slightly unpolished production, and Rainbow is high-caliber progressive rock. The fact that Jollification's studio pop overcame both suggests that its pop craftsmanship is surprisingly robust.
Okay, next up, the album that suffered the ultimate shock elimination in round two, The Beach Boys, live at Knebworth 1980. They came through round one, group 196.
They qualified second in that group, finishing behind Pink Floyd's much later instrumental work, The Endless River from 2014.
Again, a totally bizarre juxtaposition of genres and eras.
It really is.
But they did manage to advance ahead of the Scripts' No Sound Without Silence.
Soft rock.
And a nostalgic compilation album, simply titled 70s Disco.
So they demonstrated that the sheer weight and nostalgia of their songbook, even live, was enough to dispatch contemporary soft rock and a collection of classics. They earned their spot.
They did. But we see a pattern, don't we? They lost to Pink Floyd in round one, and they lost to the Beatles and the Lightning Seeds in round two.
They consistently falter against albums known for intense, pristine studio craftsmanship or innovative soundscapes.
That seems to be the key. Finally, the gym class heroes, the Papercut Chronicles. They earned their spot in round two by qualifying second from group 176.
And they were positioned behind the Killers' 2012 album, Battleborn. But they secured that crucial second spot by beating two heavy hitters from the early 2000s alt scene.
Who were they?
Evanescence's Not For Your Ears and Sum 41's seminal pop-punk album, Does This Look Infected?
Okay, so that tells us something important about the gym class heroes sound. That jazz fusion-backed hip-hop must have offered such a refreshing sonic palette that it overcame the intensity of that post-punk scene.
I think so, but clearly, round two with a classic pop architect, a 60s innovator, and a slick 90s producer presented a challenge where novelty was just not enough. It was a fundamental shift in the competition.
Which brings us to the core of the album quest, the deep dive into why these four albums ranked exactly as they did in Group 21.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
And we start, naturally, with the benchmark that just obliterated the competition.
The champion, the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Its victory here was, as the source notes, almost inevitable. It functions as the benchmark for the group. It represents the height of innovation and studio ambition.
When you listen to Straight Peppers, you're not just listening to songs. You're listening to a concept, a sonic revolution.
Absolutely. The source material highlights its use of wildly diverse elements, sitars, clarinets, vaudeville, all synthesized into what was, at its heart, a pursuit of advanced pop music.
And what's fascinating is how they did it. The band and George Martin, they deliberately broke every rule of contemporary recording to get that sound.
They were using tape loops, very speeding, intricate 4-track bouncing. Effectively layering recordings onto other recordings to get 8, 12, even more separate tracks.
Creating these complex, textured soundscapes that nobody had ever heard before in pop music.
And that technical complexity translates directly into the critique's observation. It still sounds forward-thinking, even by today's standards.
The production choices aren't just historical curiosities. They are lessons in arrangement and sonic density.
And this attention to detail defines the album's musical depth and lyrical strength. To take She's Leaving Home.
Yeah.
The critique rightly calls it essentially a classical piece with vocals. It features a double-string quartet and harp. It's structured more like a chamber work than a pop song.
And it captures this profound moment of familial breakdown so beautifully. And then you swing to something completely different, like when I'm 64.
Right, with the clarinet trio evoking that music hall tradition. It feels so timeless, like it could have existed in any century.
Even when the album rocks out, it maintains this cutting-edge feel, the beat to the title track's reprise.
Which is often dismissed as just a quick afterthought.
It's still tight, punchy, and contemporary. It proves their command of rhythm was just as advanced as their command of orchestration.
And the lyrical content is so much more than just psychedelic whimsy. I mean, yes, you have Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
It's a classic trippy one.
But the source praises the sharp, detailed storytelling in Lovely Rita and the profound emotional narrative of She's Leaving Home. It's like a short story collection set to music.
And of course, the closing track, A Day in the Life.
Quiet genius, the critique calls it.
It's a sonic masterpiece, isn't it? Seamlessly fusing two disparate song ideas with that massive, famous orchestral crescendo.
That terrifying, sublime burst of sound, just instructing 40 different orchestra members to slide from their lowest possible note to their highest. It's the definition of experimental art rock perfected for the mass market.
The final verdict, as the author states, is that considering the Beatles had already defined modern pop music, the fact that they still had C Street Peppers in their locker is almost criminal.
Yeah. It's a foundational, flawless work. Its victory was assured in a test of sonic excellence and cohesion. It set the bar impossibly high.
And that bar now brings us to the real debate. The knife-edge distinction that separated the Beach Boys from the Lightning Seeds.
The surprise qualifier. Jollification by the Lightning Seeds taking second place.
This is where we have to address the paradox. This album won because of its consistency, despite the author's really conflicted relationship with it. He remembers buying it in the 90s and being quite disappointed by how lackluster it was. He says he's still not convinced by it 2 decades later, but notes he can now appreciate it for what it is.
That internal conflict, disappointment versus appreciation is central to understanding the album quest methodology. Disappointment often comes from unmet expectations, right?
Right.
Maybe he wanted raw energy, but instead he got the precise, laid-back pop rock that Ian Brody, the band's mastermind, delivers.
Exactly. Brody handles all the writing and production, creating this extremely slick, controlled, and almost sterile pop environment. It's the sound of pristine, crafted studio music.
But the critique highlights the core structural flaw, the reason for the initial disappointment. The album fits and starts.
It struggles with pacing. In a back-to-back listening environment, that means you're repeatedly pulled out of the experience.
Which is fatal in a competition like this.
Let's look at the struggles that almost cost it round 2. Tracks like Punch and Judy and Open Goals struggled to really engage you.
And there's a specific, telling critique about one of their biggest hits, Marvelous.
Yeah, that it takes too long to get going.
Which reveals that structural pacing and immediate engagement are critical grading factors. If you have to wait for the good stuff, it loses ground quickly to something like Sweet Peppers, which just grabs you instantly.
However, the source material notes that once Marvelous eventually hits its stride, it is brilliant stuff, a bouncy, happy, sing-along triumph.
So the peaks are genuine. They're top-tier pop craftsmanship.
And those peaks, the starts, the undisputed gems, are what dragged Jollification across the finish line ahead of the Beach Boys.
Okay.
The excellent change is explicitly called a joy to listen to. Lucky You is very nice, too. And the duet with Alison Moyet, My Best Day, is praised as being ain't half bad.
So it's controlled, precise, and perfectly executed studio pop when it's on.
Exactly. And that consistency of execution of the studio environment brings us directly to the Eliminated Giant.
The Elimination Shock. Live at Knebworth 1980 by the Beach Boys, finishing in 3rd place. We now have to justify, intellectually, how the Lightning Seeds beat this historical document.
First, we have to acknowledge the gravity of this album. It's cited as the only live recording featuring that legendary complete lineup. Brian, Dennis, Carl Wilson, Mike Love, Al Jardine, and Bruce Johnston.
It's a historical artifact. It screams essential listening for any music fan.
And the track list is a foundational American songbook. California Girls, Help Me Rhonda, I Get Around, Barbara Ann, Fun, Surfin' USA.
The intrinsic quality of the songs is undeniable. Superior, arguably, to every single track on Jollification.
But this is where we debate the methodology. The album quest is searching for the best album, not the best collection of songs.
And that distinction proved fatal for Knebworth.
The critique lands 2 devastating blows on the album's presentation. First, these live versions are nowhere near the definitive versions of said songs. Second, the production gets a bit messy in places. These are cold, technical assessments of sound engineering and performance quality.
Okay, but let's challenge that first critique. Why must a live version be definitive? Isn't the point of a live album to capture the energy, the moment, the spontaneity?
That's what I was thinking. Is the author grading the live record as if it were supposed to replicate the studio masterpiece? Because if so, no live album could ever survive this quest.
I think the key lies in the word definitive within the context of the quest's high stakes. If the album is a historical document, fine. But to proceed in a quest for the best album, the author demands that the album offers the best listening experience of those songs.
Ah, I see. So if the experience is diluted by an inferior arrangement or sound quality compared to the studio track, it gets penalized.
Exactly. And let's focus on that technical execution. What does a bit messy production mean for a 1980 live recording? Often it's issues with the mix, right? The instruments wash each other out, or, critically for the Beach Boys,
The famous harmonies get lost.
precisely. If the Beach Boys' trademark sound, those incredible vocal harmonies, are compromised or muddled by a muddy live mix, the entire album fails at its core mission.
And that messy production immediately drops the grade below the slickly produced pop of Jollification.
The source provides specific examples of these critical flaws. Good Vibrations, which is maybe their most sonically complex studio achievement, is explicitly spoiled by the obligatory audience participation.
But hang on, it's a live album. Isn't audience noise part of the experience?
For the person in the crowd, yes. But the author is judging this album as a piece of recorded art. The intrusion of the audience, the clapping, the singing, it breaks the artistic coherence and technical perfection. On repeated listens for critical grading, it turns a masterpiece into a diluted sing-along.
And Jollification, for all its pacing flaws, never breaks that fourth wall of studio precision.
Never. And then there's the nitpick that matters in a close contest, Lady Linda.
It's acknowledged as an excellent track with brilliant harmonies.
But the flow is broken by an impromptu one more time encore section, which, again, disrupts the tight sequencing and structural integrity required for a perfect album.
The verdict is crystal clear then, based on the criteria. The Beach Boys delivered sturdy performances. They sounded like they were having a great time, but
the collective negative aspects, the non-definitive versions, the technical production compromises, the intrusive audience, were explicitly cited as the reason Knebworth was pipped by Jollification.
in this quest, sonic consistency, even in mid-tier studio pop, beats historically significant but sonically compromised live recordings. It's a brutal, unforgiving standard.
It is, but it explains the outcome entirely. The quest is searching for the album that is the most flawless, repeatable listening experience. A messy live album just can't compete with a slick studio album under those rules.
Which leaves us with the bottom tier, the Papercut Chronicles by Gym Class Heroes, finishing fourth. An album that was strong enough to survive round one couldn't handle the sheer technical weight of the other three.
Well, yeah, Gym Class Heroes is described as a live hip-hop outfit, which is what made them stand out in the early 2000s. They feature a full band drums, bass, guitar, providing this jazz fusion backing to Travis McCoy's rapping.
But the source notes that even with their edgy and lyrically strong moments, there's still a slight novelty factor to the band.
And that unique fusion sound was refreshing enough to defeat, say, the formulaic nature of pop-punk like Sum 41. But against the Beatles, the Beach Boys' legacy, and the Lightning Seeds polish, that novelty began to work against them.
The musical assessment is unforgiving. The source states the music is only okay.
Ouch.
It lacks the essential competitive edge. It was found to be largely ordinary when judged against three other albums that were, for all their flaws, culturally significant or technically masterful.
This failure to elevate the material is why it finished last. I mean, they have high points, sure. The source mentions Makeout Club and the solid middle section.
Yeah, Everyday Forecast, Simple Living, Pomatic, and of course their major chart hit Cupid's Chokehold.
And Cupid's Chokehold gives us a perfect critical comparison. It famously samples Supertramp's Breakfast in America.
Classic.
And while the Gym Class Heroes version is fun and commercially successful, the critique notes that it comes nowhere near the quality, the musical complexity, or the arrangement genius of the original Supertramp material.
That reinforces the critique. Just referencing great music isn't enough. You have to elevate it or perfect it. When measured against Scrape Peppers, which took disparate elements and synthesized them into something new and superior, the Papercut Chronicles just failed to compete.
And on top of that, the album is padded with fairly bland tracks like Faces in the Hall and the repeated track Papercuts. Ultimately, the highs weren't high enough, and the material was too ordinary.
A deserved fourth place in an extremely tough group.
And that leads us to the comprehensive conclusion of Group 21. We have our two ascendants, the Beatles move on, and the Lightning Seeds secure the surprise victory.
So what does this entire ranking tell us about the Quest's ultimate methodology? I mean, what does this all mean for Greenstorox's search for the best album of all time?
Well, it reveals a profound preference for two specific qualities. First, innovation coupled with definitive, tight studio perfection.
That's Sadie Peppers in a nutshell.
Exactly. That benchmark requires risk-taking combined with flawless execution.
And second,
it heavily, brutally punishes production flaws and non-definitive performances.
The downfall of Knebworth.
The historical significance simply cannot overcome poorly executed sound engineering or audience-spoiled tracks. Even a mid-tier studio album with definite highs, the starts of Jollification, is valued higher than a historically iconic live recording that sacrifices sonic fidelity for the moment.
The Quest demands that the album stand up purely on the quality of its delivery and sound engineering, regardless of its tracklist pedigree.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture of the entire album quest, it demands that an album function as a cohesive, flawlessly executed whole and is the definitive presentation of its material. It's not enough to be a collection of great songs.
The album itself must be the gold standard.
This methodology is fascinating because it forces a kind of critical honesty. We tend to apply a sort of historical amnesty to albums like Live at Knebworth, assuming the rarity of the lineup grants it a free pass. But here, the sonic reality, the messy production, the non-definitive performance wins out.
The best album must also be the best listening experience time and time again. It's a harsh but necessary lesson in objective grading, or maybe hyper-subjective grading.
It forces you to remove nostalgia and focus only on the audio coming through the speakers. The tension between the historical moment and the mastering quality is the story of Group 21.
That leaves us with a final, provocative thought for you to explore on your own, building directly on the sacrifice of the Beach Boys. When you, the dedicated listener, evaluate an artist's catalog, how much weight do you truly assign to historical significance? Does the fact that Live at Knebworth is the only recording featuring that specific iconic lineup outweigh production quality issues, audience noise, and non-definitive performances? Or must an album, even a live one, stand up purely on the consistent, flawless quality of its delivery and sound engineering to truly qualify as one of the best of all time?
Is it the unique moment in time that defines the greatness, or is it the technical execution on the vinyl, CD, or digital stream? Something to mull over as you continue your own album quest.
We'll catch you next time for the continuation of this incredible search.